This works. Yo, what's up, everybody? First episode of Scorch the Fears podcast. My name's Jonah. This is Curtis Harvey, an amazing guy, amazing friend. Curtis, how you doing, brother?
Sir. I'm good, man. I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing all right. Yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on and being like the first person. Obviously, you're an amazing friend to me. We like do deals together. I always tell you I want to be you when I grow up, more or less. Told you that several times now.
Yeah.
So first question, why all the clocks in the background?
Well, those clocks are my wife put the clocks there in the office because she was going to put nameplates and just put places we've traveled in the world. But that's another one of her projects she hasn't gotten to yet. She'll get to that one sooner or later.
I love it.
She's still doing the Christmas decorations right now. So
cool. So I'm going to start this off by quickly introducing at least my idea for this podcast, because I know a lot of people, anybody who's watching, like they might have seen some Instagrams and seen some other stuff, but I kind of want to explain at least my goals with this podcast. Okay. So I feel like I see a lot of people who are, when they're starting out, and this happened with me too, and Curtis knows it, that they have like a screwed up mindset, right? Like they didn't have the mindset to be able to do entrepreneurial stuff because they were just in a different place, in more of a survival mindset versus an abundance one. But it is really hard to get over that. And I think it comes from like whatever fears we're dealing with when we're, starting out, or just in general. I mean, there's still fears that I bet you deal with and I deal with that might even be keeping us back, which I'm going to try to get into all of that. But first, I'm going to start with, I just want to know, like, Curtis, how'd you get into business? What was your first business? Was it real estate wholesaling?
No, I've been running businesses forever. I used to have a computer company where I used to go out and do computer repairs. I've had a lot of things. Actively right now, though, I got a credit repair company. I have obviously a wholesale business. I have an education company where we do Acquisition Academy, where we train people how to actively wholesale. I have a wholesale in the box, where we take people and, we make sure that they get OKRs, KPIs, the structure of how to run a wholesale business and including CRMs. And we walk them through that process and help them be successful. And then I, in the process of going through, this entrepreneurship and trying to get out and do a lot more marketing, I end up buying an agency just recently too, a marketing agency, so that I could actually market my companies, right? Because I was spending so much money with them. It made more sense to just acquire one and kind of tuck it into my current business, and be able to do that. So for me, that's, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, dude. I've been a thoroughbred racehorse trainer, at all the major tracks in California. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff,
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier. You did jujitsu too, which I do as well. I mean, it's just crazy all this stuff that you've done.
Way back in the days, I did jujitsu, I did taekwondo, way back in the days. So
amazing stuff. So okay, so you're doing a ridiculous amount of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So when you were starting, let's say the computer repair business, because that sounds like the first real business that you did. Yep. Did you have any fears? Like what do you think? Do you remember? I don't know how long ago that was.
The problem is I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And so
that's a quote.
Had I had a understanding of marketing, that may have been the only business. I mean, but that's what I think happens, right? If I understood marketing and I understood how to really grow out a business, right? If I understood how to kind of develop some, I mean, we talk about this all the time, right? Developing SOPs within a business, getting defined, streamlined process, and then being able to track.
Explain what an SOP is. For people who don't know.
Yeah, standard operating procedure, right? It's how you do specific tasks within your business, right? And for me, that's the one key element that helped me be successful within the wholesale business is once I started wholesaling, I had that fear, right? It's starting out, like, I think we talk about that too, right? It takes a while to get to an abundant mindset within wholesaling, because there's a lot of illusions about, first, what is success, and the illusion about about I'm gonna, because everybody thinks that they're gonna jump into business and they're gonna do a deal in a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're gonna be able to pay for their education based on
Mm-hmm.
that. And the problem with that is when you put timelines like that on your development, what happens is you put yourself in a box that's really tough, right?
Right.
What you have to do, and we all get to that once we get comfortable with whatever the business that we're in is when we get comfortable enough to know, hey, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know how to manage my output based on the effort that I'm putting into it. The mindset changes, right?
Right.
And so for me, that changed when the aha moment of someone saying, based on what I presented to them, that they wanted to let me purchase their property, right? No money
Mm-hmm.
down, be able to wholesale their property. So that for me was the when I started getting changing my mindset, right, to being, to the abundance mindset, because I stopped worrying about what the next deal was, because I was like, oh, well, you know how to get to the next deal. You processized all your all of the things in your business, and if you continue to do what you're doing now, you'll get to the next deal. So that for me was the point where I said, I'm going to start pouring into a lot of other students that are running into that same issue. So
Great.
back then I started talking to Jamil, and I started talking to all of the students that would reach out to me and ask for help, because I had gotten past that point. And I think once people get to that point, then they can start pouring into other people, right? Because
I
then
love it.
how is anybody else going to trust you if you're telling me how to do a deal if you haven't done one, right?
Right. You have to have done deals before
Correct,
100%.
correct,
So
correct.
explain more, because I didn't 100% get it. So was it your first deal where that started happening, or was it when you actually started creating the procedures and started tracking your KPIs? I'm curious.
Well,
Was it after the
when
first
I
deal, or
started,
was it
no, it definitely wasn't after the first deal.
right?
I'm a lucky guy, right? So my first deal, I got a list off PropStream. I skip traced it with the white label batch, which is which is what is it? Skip Vault, right?
Hmm.
I skip traced the list, right? Because I was cheap. I didn't have the money to continue to. I wanted to kind of stay within my budget, so I skip traced the list on Skip Vault because it was cheaper than regular batch, right?
Right.
And then I started cold calling and actually SMSing these leads out in San Bernardino. The good thing about it is I got a person that said that they wanted me to they would sell their home to me, and then we build up a rapport over probably another hour, and then they say, hey, I got another duplex next door, you can buy that one too, right?
I
So I
love
got
it.
deals. I got two deals. So but that wasn't the point at which I turned the corner in regards to the abundance mindset. What what made me do that was I was on a call with Jamil, one of our mentoring calls, and
By the way, I'm going to interrupt you because I realized I didn't say this.
yep.
Curtis and I, for everyone who's watching, are part of this mastermind. I'm wearing the other one, Astro Flipping. I was wearing the wrong hat. Astro Flipping,
That's
which
pretty funny.
is basically Jamil Damji's mentorship, Astro Flipping. A lot of you guys probably know it, but basically it's all about the JV model and using wholesalers and agents and other people in your network to get deals instead of going direct to seller. That's how Curtis and I met, because we're both leaders in that community, and we talk all the time about ways to help other people, about deals, about us doing deals. And this is conversations we have a lot. Honestly, I just wanted to record one. So sorry to interrupt. I just realized I didn't do
Oh,
a good intro
sure.
for you.
No,
So
no.
let's go back to that moment, because
Yeah.
this is the keys. Like,
So
explain
we had
even more for the people what switch from the survival mindset of like, man, like I need to get what's mine. I need to, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get that next deal. I need to do
yeah.
whatever it takes, even if I like, even if it's not like the way that I want to do it. When did it switch to like everybody can eat,
So
everybody can
it
have a
switched
great time?
well, so when I start, so that was a direct to seller. So I really didn't have that then. But
Your first deal.
when I turned the corner on that was when I started, what I started doing was I started creating processes in my business for how I cold called,
Mm,
how I created email templates, everything is standardized in my business. So like my acquisition manager today, if I give out my SOPs to my team, and if they're doing a deal email, it looks just like I do a deal email. If they cold call, it looks just like I cold call, right? So once I did that, what I started noticing is that there was a really good distinction between what I was creating there and what was coming out on the other end, which I was using, in my KPI reports, right? So whenever I see something in my KPI reports and it doesn't look good and I go and adjust the process, I noticed that would trend upward. And I was like, okay, so it's directly related to my processes are related to what comes out on the other side, right? And then once I figured that out, I just started scaling, right? So I went from 1 to 3 to 5 to 15 to 20 to 25 a month. And I said, it's all about the scaling with the processes that I created, right?
Yeah, like how many deals are you doing a month now? 45? Something crazy like that?
No, I did 42 last month, but that's
kind of 42. What a shame.
It's an anomaly because even last month, my gross revenue wasn't what it normally is, right? So 42 me, I did a ton of micro flips, right? At like 5K spread in Atlanta or Cleveland, right? Whereas I'll have a better month this month and I'll do less deals. But my average assignment fees on my direct to seller deals are a lot higher, and I'll do a little bit less micro flipping, right? So but for me, that turned when I started doing that, right? When I started documenting, because for me, I would always be like, I could just remember it. I could figure it out on the fly. But there's a really big distinction between when you document your processes and you streamline your processes. And I'm always thinking of ways that I could streamline my processes to make them more efficient, right? When I first started off, I was doing it on a yellow pad, tracking everything, right? Then I said, okay, I need to, then I went to a Google Sheet. Then I went to like Podio. Then I went to, other tool. But I'm always figuring out ways, I would create a process and then create a Podio app to do it, or create
How long did it take you to go from I'm starting this wholesale business to that moment where you're like, okay, now I'm comfortable?
6 months.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah.
Nice.
Probably about like I started in that program like in March a couple of years ago, and then by like August I was like, it was that aha moment, right? And so not only was I figuring out, but then I just start pouring into people, because the one way to know if it's really working is if it's cool because sometimes you're just lucky, right? But when you take your processes and you hand them off to other people and you say, hey, well, I'm not going to actually give them my SOPs, but I tell them exactly what I did, right? And then they go and execute it and say,
other wholesalers,
now this makes sense, and I'm able to do the same thing. Because I've had conversations with guys, like Mahmoud or other people who were working in the market and getting tons of deals in escrow and not closing them. And then the conversation is, okay, did you do A, B, C, or D? And they're like, no, do A, B, C, and D next month. And they go do A, B, C, and next month. And they're like, oh, my deals are sticking in escrow. I'm closing 4 times as many.
You're talking
deals.
about helping other wholesalers, right? I'm just double checking.
Correct. Yeah. Pouring in other wholesalers. And you and I both spend tons of time doing that, right?
Yeah.
There was a time where I was upwards over 250 calls a week with people.
That's insane.
With people just asking for help, right?
Man.
Because trying to be a leader in that community, in Jamil's community, and make sure that, everybody has that same level of satisfaction with what they're learning, and kind of me and Jamil had some significant conversations around that. And that was the reason why I developed my Acquisitions Academy, because one of the things about wholesaling that, for me that I found.
What is that? Explain to the people what your Acquisitions Academy is.
Acquisition Academy is a 6-week intensive where you work directly with me on learning how to run the acquisition side of a wholesale business. Okay. Right. And the key though is I really wanted to help people not. So one of the things that I saw that was missing with a lot of the programs that I saw out there, right? And I think Jamil's he does a fabulous job at it, and I think Pace does a fabulous job at this, right? Mm-hmm. They do a really good job at making sure that not only when they take the training wheels off, that you can ride the bike, but that they're right there with you all the way.
It's so
Right. So
true. I mean,
for
it's
me,
so insane that they both.
yeah,
I mean, Jamil talks twice a week. I mean,
dude, the
freaking
amount of content
Pace does like 6 Zooms a week. I
you
don't even understand. I'm like 6 Zooms, like that man doesn't sleep. I don't even
the
I don't even
amount of
understand
content
him.
the amount of content that they both have is crazy. But the thing is that's the one thing I think. The one thing that really helped me is turning that corner, though, was when I start realizing, like, the theory of wholesaling is very easy.
Right.
Where a
Simple.
lot of people make the mistakes is that they don't understand the practical applications that go along with it, right? And
Mhm.
that's, for me, when I was able to figure that portion out and to apply, with procedures to practical application, that's for me when it turned to an abundant mindset for me, and I got out of that scarcity stuff. Saying, because I hear guys all the time. They would say to me all the time, "Hey, I got 3 more months, or I got another month in the program, and if I haven't done a deal by then, I'm gonna have to go back
We
and get
know
my
all those
my
guys.
9 to 5." Correct, correct, correct.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, what I think is amazing and what they've taught us that's even better that for all of us that at least made me feel really good about like what I'm able to do is they elevated us. You and me both got elevated by Jamil to be
Yep,
those guys who can help other people. And I
yep,
think that's honestly one of the best ways to learn too is
yeah.
just by helping other people.
Well,
Um, yeah,
that is a great point, because I think one of the problems with, well, one of the advantages of their community, um mentorships and their training is the community, right?
right.
We all do deals together. I mean, I have students that are sub T students, students that are Astro students, so it's, I have people that I work with all the time that bring me deals, or I disposition deals through them that are sub 2 or Astro students. So I think that being part of a community is something that they've developed, that I think, really, I don't know if it exists anywhere else, because I haven't.
I have
And
no
this is
idea
probably
either.
this is my third mentorship, and I hadn't seen it before like this.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the story with the other mentorships. Like when you started it, you obviously started with a different mentorship.
Yeah.
Didn't work out as well. Did they even do
Well,
Zooms with like the leader or anything like that?
yeah, well, it's funny. So I was in two other mentorships. I was in a Michael Blanc mentorship on syndications and private placement memorandums. Right. It was great. Right. All
Mhm.
the information was great, but to be able to, with that one thing that we talked about, right, to be able to practically apply all of that stuff, it was at a entry point that was too costly for me, right? So I was learning the information, it was good information, and I was trying to execute upon the way they do, but unfortunately, the roadblocks of me not having um, the financial backing, or having a network of people who had that, is different, right? Like, now that I'm in wholesale, I guys that come to me all the time and say, "Hey, I have $6 million, I have $5 million, I have $2 million, and if you want to do some flipping, let me know. I'll fund it."
Crazy, right?
Yeah,
It's
but
crazy how
like,
your buyers become your friends. I mean, I got
right,
invited to a Christmas party with one of my buyers. Like it's
see,
gonna
that's
be
great.
great.
That's great. But before, I didn't get that in that community. But now that I've developed things, I'm getting that kind of, I'm getting that. So that one. I thought that mentorship I thought that was gonna be a really good one for me, because I really like multifamily. But the cost of entry was too much for me. So I had to do what I thought was right. And I jumped into wholesaling, which is, I could actually, earn money, or put money aside, so that now if I want to go buy multifamily, I can buy multifamily. I don't have to bring
Right.
in partners. I don't have to do any of that. Right. So,
Right.
um, so now that's really good. The other mentorship that I was in prior to that was a mentorship with a guy named Sharif Medawar, who's a guru in regards to syndications um, and and commercial properties, right? And he's the first person I ever heard about the option from, right? He did a deal in the French Polynesian Virgin French Islands, with a person on an option for a deal, and made like $9 million, right? So
Wow.
yeah, so those are really
Damn.
cool. Those are really cool, but it was a little bit out of my league in regards to the mentorships.
Right, because you just started.
When I got into wholesaling, it made a lot of sense for me, but I had a little bit of background because of those other mentorships. So I had a really solid foundation. And so it helped me progress a little faster, I think, and get to that point where the fear was gone, right? And then I got into that abundant mindset, and things change when you get confidence, get into abundant mindset. You start to figure the ability to scale is super easy because you've done it, right? You've been able to go from 1 to 3 to 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15 or 20, whatever. So it's once you do that, okay, I got the confidence I can do that. That's when I scale down in the other markets that same way. And now it's,
how many markets are you in?
40.
40 markets. This guy's in 40 markets for the 7 people that are on here, or 8 people that are on here. 40 markets makes me makes my head hurt, dude.
It makes my
just FYI.
But what's crazy is there, I mean, like we talked about, right? Doing 42 deals or doing 25 deals. I may not do a deal in every market every month, right? But I manage my pipeline really well, and I try to execute on my goals to get to my pipeline every month, right?
I love it.
That's
so I have another question for you, because we were on mentorship, and this is something I've thought about, and I'd love your opinion on this. Just the value of mentorships in general. Like, I remember when I started like a year and a half ago, I really didn't want to do any mentorship, and this just might be my own. I have this thing where I like being independent, and I like the idea for my ego to be like, no, I did it on my own. I didn't need anybody. I'm a goddamn genius. And I remember thinking that, and then being so thankful that Keegley did a good sales pitch to me, because my story a little bit is I was broke. Like, I had just gotten out of the Peace Corps type of broke. I had probably $5,000 to my name or something like that. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to trust these guys and pay them $5,000 and hope this works out, which I got lucky. It did. But I'm curious what you think of just in general, like the value of a good mentor. Like, what do you think of mentorship in general, and what it's done for you and what it's done for others?
I think it's so I thought tons about like trying to do wholesaling from like YouTube University initially, right? And then I kind of weighed it out, and I'm like, can't be any worse than the stuff I've been in before. And those guys, I'm gonna tell you, the 2 other mentors that I had prior to Jamil were brilliant guys, right? But the community for me wasn't, well, the community in Michael Blanc's community was good, but it just wasn't what it is, and wasn't for me in Astro, right? And so I think if you are going to do something, like whatever it happens to be, you should always find someone who is successful at it and get them to help you and save you from getting the lumps on your heads of failure. Because if you try to do it on your own, you're going to have like, for instance,
it's going to be so bad.
If you get under contract with a deal today and you haven't been in a mentorship that's going to train you how to do things the right way, and your seller backs out of the deal, even though you're already in escrow and they're just waiting for you to call, you don't know to go file a memorandum of contract, right? You don't know those. So you could put yourself in some legal scenario where it could cost you more than that mentorship would have cost you in the first place. But the value of having a mentorship is that, for example, the first guy that I took in as a mentorship in my wholesale business in a box, his first month he did 42 grand. Matter of fact, he did 42 grand on his first deal. Right?
Love it.
So
amazing.
It's like, but on his own, he would not have done that, right? Because he would not have had my vision in regards to the many ways that you can do deals within wholesaling, that from my experiences, right? And that helped him, right? And I think it's extremely important to have a mentor in your journeys to help you. I just think that it stops people from making mistakes that they can make that would cost them way more than a mentorship would cost them in the first place. Yeah, are they going to figure it out at some point? Yeah, you keep doing it, you'll figure it
A
out.
year and a half later, you'll do it, like,
Yeah,
and you bumble through it.
how much money did you leave on the table?
So true.
How much terrible experience did you get to go through? And you could have avoided it all by having someone solid who it like I sometimes my student they'll reach out and call me. Like I had one call me today about a deal that they had going on, and ask for my opinion on the best route to move forward with that. Right. And then 2 hours later called me and said, "Hey, thanks for the advice you gave me earlier. It worked out that way. I closed the deal for $32,000."
Oh
That
yeah.
is what is what
Let's
I'm
go. Curtis getting people $32,000 deals, $42,000 deals.
you have to have the ability to, I mean, just from a mentorship, right? You want to be around people. Like I'm like if I have a sub two question, I'll reach out to you, I'll reach out to Pace, I'll reach out to people that are close to me, like Sean O'Connor. I'll reach out to people that actually understand and know that I'm not gonna try to do a sub two deal myself because I don't have enough background to be able to not make a mistake, right? And I think that it makes sense if I'm gonna do that type of deal to reach out to you guys because it can, it's you're gonna see things that I can't. Yeah, and I always think about that too, right? Collaboration over competition is ultimately one of the biggest reasons why I'm successful too. My deal, even the deals that I get that are direct to seller, most of them come from acquisition wholesalers who have them direct to seller who don't have dispositions. So they're like, I can go back to working on acquisitions and just send the deals over to you, right? So, and the rest of the stuff I get is micro flips, mostly micro flips that I dispo. They send them to me, I mark them up, and or we split the assignment fee, and I market them to my cash buyers list, and so I can spend more time building cash buyers list, and I don't have to worry about tons of direct to sell. Even though we're doing, we do agent outreach, we do direct to
Well, you
sell.
do everything. Like it doesn't even like if there's a way to make money. I mean, this guy's building rocket ships. Probably we don't even know.
You have to have like a hybrid model, and because every market's not the same, right? You're in Northern California, right? So it's that way. But I think the value of mentorship, people don't underestimate the value of mentorship. I think sometimes it's tough to make that investment initially, but I think it saves you money. Just find a quality mentor, vet them, your mentor, and then talk to people who've worked with them, who've either been successful and some who haven't, right? And try to figure out why, if that's the person that you're going to go with. But figure that out, because I think.
And something I want to add on to what you're saying right now for people who are looking for mentors, you should even yes, A, they should have the knowledge of what you want to be doing. B, what do you think of them as like a human being? It's hard when it's through ads, but I've noticed, for instance, there are people like Max Maxwell who seems like a cool guy, and he knows a ton. But like when I compare him to somebody like Pace or Jamil or Brent, they're constant like trying to like Pace, for instance, and I bet Jamil like gets stressed like when people aren't getting it, or like when they think they could help more but they're not. And it's crazy to see that, and it's also, I think, that something people should realize is it should be based on the mentor's character, because that's going to affect you and how you do business 100%. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot of, like, damn, like these people are heroes to a lot of people. I'd say they're my heroes, at least business wise, of like, damn, like if like just to be like, I don't know personally if I want to be like doing as much crazy stuff as Jamil and Pace are. I might. I'm not sure yet, but I know that if I was as good of men as they are, I would be very satisfied, because they're just
that's interesting, because you look at like the industry, right? And guys like Maxwell, I like Mac Maxwell. I think he spends a tons of time pouring into communities the same way as those guys, right? I think he runs kind of in the same circle as most of those guys, right? Some of them, I think him and Pace even has businesses together, right? So I think one of the things that's really important about whoever
not trying to talk shit about Max Maxwell.
Like, no. I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just saying that I think whoever you decide to be your mentor, you have to spend time understanding a lot about like who they are and what kind of person you're dealing with, right? Because it's
Right.
important, right? It's important, and it's tons of guys out there. Like Jamil says this all the time, right? It's 1,000 guys that are wholesale gurus in Phoenix, right? And it's the same.
100.
It's the same here in LA, right? Same thing. Tons of guys with courses out there, right? I send out, I do outreach all the time, and I get tons of people that respond back to me and said, you want to get in my mentorship, right? So it's just how it is, right? So it's as many people selling deals as it is people. But I would say be very careful about the mentorships you get into, and make sure you spend time understanding not only the people in that community, but the person that you're going to be, because you're kind of in a business relationship until you get an ROI on your investment. So you better like that person in that community, or you're gonna it's gonna be tough.
Right. So, okay, my next question that I want to go into is, so, well, first off, I need to know your history more. You said you started tons of different businesses before wholesaling. Those businesses that you started beforehand, like how far did they go? Do you still own any of them, or was it kind of not really working until you got to wholesaling? Because I know you're successful at wholesaling. Were you successful at any of those other businesses beforehand?
Beforehand, well, I was at horse racing. Yeah, I was a horse racing trainer, and I was fairly successful at that.
Nice.
But here goes the thing. Like I told you before, one of the problems with the way that I always started businesses in the past is I never was as thorough as I am now. I never had the procedures. I never had documented procedures. I never had a method of tracking whether I'm successful or not. Right. So those businesses, I think, failed because of those reasons.
Right.
Same reasons that my wholesaling business or my other businesses that I have going now are successful, right? Is because I have all that stuff for them, and I can track them, and I understand if someone comes and wanted to purchase them all today, they're all tax information is all there, all the documents are all there, all the procedures for each one of them are separated. You know what I mean? And it's we're really streamlined in the way that we do business now. So if I could have had any of that with any of the other businesses that I had, they would have been successful, right? So
I was literally about to ask you if there was anything that you would tell yourself when you were starting those business that you know now, and it seems like it would be that create standard operating procedures. Is there anything else, or just that you think?
I think the other thing was my vision then was much smaller, right? I would tell myself to think a lot bigger than I was thinking then.
Right.
I would be trying to do something rather than just providing some simple computer services to people. I would have been thinking of something much larger, because I think that's what we do, right? We have this limiting mindset as well, right? So having an abundant mindset is one thing, right? But we have a limiting mindset in regards to what we think we can do. And I don't think we even know that, right? Because if you get the right mentor, and you put in the work, because like, let me give you an example. What I find is, and this is just for everyone. So what I find is that the number one reason that most wholesalers fail is that they're not really good at outreach, right? And you and I've had conversations about this before.
I think they're not consistently doing outreach.
Well, they're not good at it, right? They haven't documented, and they don't have processes in place, and they don't consistently do it so that they can build up their pipeline, right?
Right.
And so they might have a deal this week, but then they might have because I've had 2 people over the last 2 weeks have reached out to me for help, and that was the number one thing that came up with both of them. So I'm looking through their process, and I'm like, so the reason why you don't have any deals is because when you got deals, it was because you were doing outreach consistently, and the reason you don't have any deals now is because you don't have a pipeline. Right.
Because they weren't consistent, right? Because they didn't keep doing the process. What happens, I'm assuming, because it sometimes still happens to me when I get hit up like 150, and like Curtis, by the way, like amazing what you have done with the standard operating procedures. I have standard operating procedures 100%, but I already know it's not nearly as good as yours. And that's why you're way more successful than I am, is because your standard operating procedures are so precise. I could not sell my business to somebody and then be able to just take it up like that. I'm just honest about it. Yeah. But I totally know what probably happens to them. And I'm a lot better at it now, thanks to the fact I've hired people. But they get a deal, and they go one deal-itis all the way through and then it doesn't close, and they're like, damn it. And now I have to start at the beginning with more.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is that let me pull this over here to this other screen because I'm
Caesar,
curious.
what do you mean while you're pulling that up, Caesar? What do you mean sharing some what? I don't know if people can see the chats, but basically Caesar's asked me, will Curtis be sharing some of them? I don't know what some of them, like the standard operating procedures. That's his bread and butter. That's like asking somebody, are they going to share their buyers list?
That's like business IP.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all for sale. But like the reason why I was mentioning that too, though, is because I think what's important is that you start, like, if you're consistently building, you know, because we talked about fear, right? And I think one of the things that eliminates that, right? We talked about, like, you know, the limiting fear, and then having, you know, that a different mindset, right? So one of the key things I think that helps with that too is once you start to define your processes, right? And you start to, every month you start out with a pipeline, right? You start out with goals. You have something to get to. But if you're not doing those things, right? If you don't have 20, 30 emails coming into your email every day, and you don't have people constantly reaching out to you with deals all the time, then that mindset changes to, you know, because now I need to try this. I go back to this survivalist mindset, right? And the one thing, I haven't
gotten a deal in 3 months.
Fear, the one thing that gets away that fear is when you look in your pipeline, and I do, you know, I'm kind of weird about it. I look at my pipeline every morning for every market. And because of that, I know what numbers I'm driving to. I can look and see what my conversion rate is, and then look and see how much I actually have in the pipeline, and pretty much know at the end of the month what number I'm going to hit based on that, right? And that's from understanding, because like being a wholesaler is one thing, but running a wholesale business is something completely different.
So true. Right? A business is so much different than just doing deals.
Yeah,
so much different.
But it's mindset. You know, most of that is mindset. It's having enough confidence in what you've put together to be able to grow it out and trust that it's going to provide for you because you believe in it, and you've walked and put into that business, you know. And that's for me, I you know, and when I look at my pipelines, and I say, okay, I know what I need to work on today. I have I have 15 tasks every day that I put on my board, and I go through those 15 tasks every day.
I love that. I love that answer. That's such a good answer for people. I feel like, with the fact that what you use to scorch your fears is basically just, you know exactly what you need to get a deal. You know, you literally know every single step you'd have to do to get $100,000, $5,000, $50,000. You could literally track it to the amount of outreach you're doing, I bet, to like the number, which is insane. I'm not doing that. Like I will for sure. I 100%, I keep to my standard operating procedures, but I definitely don't have my numbers as locked in as you are. Like, I have KPIs and I keep to them, but I am still working on that part of it, of being like, the part where you're basically like, I could sell this business to somebody else with all the stuff I've created and they could run it. That is still not there for me. I'll just be honest. It's like right now, what it is there's like 100 videos of Loom of how to do everything, and I've got a few courses and manual, which is it's better than nothing, but it's not there yet.
You could train your team with that, right?
Yeah.
So
we're getting
for
there.
Me too. I mean, I spend tons of time on that stuff, right? Like, I can, every month, at the end of the month, I know, I have to know, it's kind of weird, but I have to know what was my close ratio. Like, if I get 80 deals in, you know, based on 80, if I get 80 deals, on how many deals that I close, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I go through so many, I'm upwards of like 5,000 deals a month that I actually look at, right, to get to my numbers. So it's,
do you have it auto populate? Like, do you just have like a thing where it's like, okay, here's all the deals in Podio, then I click the ones that are closed, and then it auto populates to like an Excel file? Like, have you got it like locked down like that, or do you still manually have to go through?
No, I don't do any of it that way. So basically, in my CRM, it shows me on my dashboard. It'll show me I have opportunity cards for every opportunity. I have a pipeline built up, and as deals go through the pipeline, it populates and it'll tell me about that deal.
Is this in Go High Level?
Yeah, correct.
Dude, I'm so ready to start that. That's guys, Go High Level. That's this guy's CRM. The guy is doing 42 deals a month, at least, probably sometimes 60, and then like at least 40. Like this guy's a maniac. And I'm like, once you told me your CRM, I'm like, bro, I'm doing it.
I just moved to it. Well, you're using it too. You're using it.
I'm kind of using it. I'm using guys. REI Reply is like the non-white label is like Go High Level, right? And then REI Reply, or is it the opposite? I don't know what white label really means. I kind of do.
It means that you can take it and you could sell this. You could sell more of it.
Tons of them.
You could sell a sub account within it. But here goes the thing. Up until a month ago, I was using Close.io, right? So I was using Close.io for some stuff and Podio for some other. And I just got exhausted of Podio looking like it was 1979. And I got tired of Close charging me more money than I should have been getting charged for. Like if I added my acquisition manager and my VA, that was $450 a month I was paying in Close.io, right? So it was very limiting, right? So I moved over, bought it. But here goes the thing. It's not just having the CRM part of it, right? Because that's super easy. The complicated part is you have to spend money on training and buying workflows and snapshots so that your version of the CRM is custom. Like mine is custom to me, right? In 2 weeks, I'll be selling my version of my CRM to other people who want to utilize it, right? Yeah. And they'll be able to get seats in my CRM. But that's because I spent a lot of money and did a lot of training, and the money that I ended up spending it and tuning it to my business. And now I'll be able to provide that to other people.
Yeah.
But when you buy Go High Level, it's empty.
I'm going to buy it too. It's going to take a million years for me to do, but I'm seriously just going to I'm going to spend a weekend and spend I'm going to spend like 2 12-hour days to get it to where I need it to be. Yeah. Because REI Reply is not working well.
What you'll like though, what I liked is I was using Constant Contact for my email. Mm-hmm. Problem with that is that because of the amount of email of the amount of cash buyers that I have, I end up spending like $400, $500 a month, right? Just for that. I merged all that.
How many cash buyers you got, Curtis?
119.
All your markets.
Somewhere about 119, 120,000.
Yeah, I was about to say he doesn't mean 119 guys. He has 120,000 cash buyers. Yeah. That is insane. That might be. I'm curious if that's more than Keegley. Like, I'd want to know how many buyers.
No, they got more.
Does Keegley have like millions? Like, how many buyers does Keegley have?
He said it on Wholesale Hotline the other day.
Damn.
Like he has like 100,000 just in Phoenix.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's crazy.
That's
so insane. You people are insane. But okay, for sure. I love that stuff. I mean, I'm learning from you, dude. Every time I talk to you, I just learn more about like because you're good at what I'm bad at, which is systems. Like I'm good enough at systems. Like I'm good enough where I can do it, where I'm not going insane, and I'm organized enough where like I can actually get stuff done and do KPIs. But yeah, man, you're the man on that type of stuff, which is amazing. I love it.
Somebody asked a question there. They said, "When was the last time you had an issue with Dispo?" Then I think we talked about that today, you and I, before we got on the call. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always issues. It doesn't matter how many cash buyers you have.
Yeah, I have issues with Dispo on a daily basis. I got a deal that's sitting in escrow right now, waiting on the buyer's lender to deposit funds. Right. It's been a month and a half. Right. So there's a lot of things that can happen in the in the wholesale process, and I ran into all of them, right, at some point, right? So that's why you get used to that whole. Think about this. Jonah and I did a deal a couple months back.
That was such a funny one. That was so ridiculous.
Like six wholesalers on the deal was funny.
Was that the most you've ever had on one deal? That's the most I've ever had.
Yeah, but here goes what's even funny.
There were 6 wholesalers, guys. There were 5. It was acquisition. Then there was one. Then there was you. Then there was me. Then there was Sergio, and then there was the buyer. So yeah, 5 wholesalers.
Yep.
And people say like.
And they got a great deal, right? They said they
got a great deal.
buyer got a great deal. You know what's crazy about that deal? He's talking about some stuff that happens during dispo. The deal took so long to close that Jonah and I forgot about it for a long time.
Yeah,
right? Probably took like 3 months for that thing to close.
Yeah, from minimum. The time I got that deal to when we actually closed, 3 months at least, 3 to 4 months. Yeah, but like I was just like, I gotta focus on other stuff. I can't worry about this anymore. This isn't going anywhere.
But that's the cool part about like the process, right? It's like one of the things that I think that we benefited from is that when you have your head down and you're working, you don't focus. Like I need to get a transaction coordinator to handle that stuff, but I don't focus well on the daily task. Like I'm not calling escrow every day saying, is this deal going to close? Is this deal going to close? And sometime I'll get a wire and don't even know it. Right. And that's one of my biggest things.
This guy is literally receiving money and doesn't even remember about the deals.
No,
literally like, oh, what?
I have to fix that because
5 East Sacramento.
One of my biggest things.
Whatever, I'll take the 10K.
But think about it though. One of the biggest things that I think that because of that, sometimes I don't even get HUDs on deals. Like a lot of people will save every HUD for every deal they get. Sometime that'll happen to me. What I just explained, I won't even end up getting they won't even send me out a HUD.
Yeah, I sometimes don't get HUDs.
I move on and I don't worry about it. I'm 75 to 80% of my deals. I never even see the HUDs.
Yeah, I agree. I don't usually look at the HUDs because that just takes too long. And I know escrow's not going to screw it up as long as you did your paperwork right.
Yeah. So now I'm going to ask you though, because you asked a question to me. What are some of your fears in regards to what are some of your fears in regards to your wholesale business? And when you started out, what were some of your fears?
I love it. Let's switch it. This is turned into the Curtis Harvey show. Let's do it. I'll answer. When I was starting out, I mean, my fears, what was my main fear? I think it was fear of failure. I think it was that partially, but also partially I kind of had put myself, like I said, I had only like 5K in my bank and I spent it all on the Keegley stuff. So I was like, all right, it's this or die. Like, cause I was like, I had been dealing with some mental health issues. And then I had finally gotten over those. And then I remember I was like applying for jobs and I had always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I was kind of getting out of that phase. I was applying for jobs. And it was like, I finally got one. It was like an assistant manager as an insurance salesman or something like that. I remember driving back and being like, it can't end like this. My life is not going to end as an insurance salesman. So I did have the fear, but I had kind of like such a fire under my butt that like it just had to happen. Like what I'm dealing with now, because I've been thinking about this of like what fear is holding me back. The fear for sure that has been holding me back in my business is I have been too conservative with spending money. I recently looked at I spend probably, if you like, well, I'd say probably 60 to 70% of my expenses have been from the mastermind, both of the Keegley and the Sub 2 mastermind, both of their courses, and then another mastermind I'm a part of. It's like probably like 60% of my expenses. I have run a lean operation, but it's like,
how much of your net operating income is
actually from
your actual expenses? I bet you that number is
very low. It's probably, I could look it up, but I think it's probably like 10%, like 10 to 12. I run a very lean operation, but I'm realizing that's hurting me. I need to be hiring people and spending some dang money. Like it comes from two fears. One is like the fear of spending money is like, okay, I've earned all of this. What if I lose it all? What if I lose it all? And then every naysayer is like, see, screw his podcast. He ain't all that. Whatever. Do these Instagram stories and
I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
One of the things that helped me too throughout that process that I was going through is I stopped caring what other people think.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
I mean, legit, like
that's
really,
what this is. This is to help me stop caring.
Like a next level, stop caring about what people, right? Because if you're worried about like what other people think, it gives you a limit to what you can get because you're dealing with something other than yourself, right? If you focus in on yourself and you're doing the things that you need to do to be successful, you'll be good to go.
It's 100% true. It's all related to fear, bro. I've decided, this is why I created this, is what decides how much money you make is how much fear you have. If you can just, like seriously, like the less fear you have, the more money you're gonna make, because like this is dumb. Why are my operating expenses 10 to 15%? I guarantee you it's in some sort of range like that. Like that's dumb. That's stupid. Like I have plenty of money to live on. I'm going to be fried.
What that means is you have a lot of money in the bank.
I need to spend the money. I have tax issues. I need to spend money to make more money. I need to stop like hoarding this money so that I feel safe and calm my anxiety down. I need to hire people, and I'm starting to do that. I hired 2 VAs. I'm going to hire a transaction coordinator, but probably just per file for now.
Yeah, that's a great point that you just said. That I think when I think about what you just said, which was like when you talk about fears and like, do you ever have a fear? Like, because this is one of mine, right? Because I have 3 VAs and acquisition manager right now, right, on my staff. But one of my biggest fears is that I can't help them feed their families.
Right. That's a huge one.
But one of the things for me,
why I won't hire people is because I'm like, what if I can't pay them? Even though I have plenty of money to pay them.
Yeah, that's why for me, Yona, I've always had the mentality. Well, since I started wholesaling, I learned the mentality that no one will outwork me, and I will always be efficient. And because of those two things, I will be able to exceed what I set as expectations for myself, right? And then that eliminates that fear of me not being able to pay those people so that they can feed their families or whatever. Or
say that one more time for me. Say it one more time for me, Curtis.
What stops me from having that fear is that I've determined that no one will outwork me, right? And no one will work as efficiently as I work. And because of those two things, I won't have an issue with success, no matter what I do, right?
Right.
If I do those two things, which have always been missing from my life, right? So I didn't figure it out until wholesaling, right? And then I eliminated that fear of that, and I said, oh, okay, so that's for me what was helping me get to the next level in wholesaling, and I need to apply that to everything, right? So any business I start, that's how I do it now.
So do you have any, like, because those sound, that was an affirmation. That was like a self-affirmation you just did, whether you call it that or not. Do you do self-affirmations? Do you do anything like mindset-wise to get you in that place? No, you're just a beast.
I wake up
always transcending.
But I think that has a lot to do with like kind of mindset shift, right? And getting to a certain place where once you do get there, you're like, okay, I'm not going back anywhere else. I'm going to continue to go forward. And because I'm going to go forward with an understanding that this has to be my mindset. I have to wake up like this. I can't spend an hour meditating and 2 hours at the gym to get to the place where I need to be. I need to wake up that way, because then I'm 2-3 hours ahead of the people that need to do all that stuff to get in that mindset.
Right. No, I got you. Like that. It's literally when it gets to that point where you realize that other people are depending on you. I mean, you kind of probably have kids, right? I'm pretty sure you have kids. You have like a wife and kids. Like I would imagine that, like, because this is the first time anybody's ever depended on me for anything is having employees. But like, I don't know. I'm curious, actually. Let me ask you, how does that like employees depending on you versus like kids and family? I mean, I bet kids and family is more important, but
absolutely.
It's an interesting thought to me right now.
Real because I think, and I don't know if you watched that Zoom meeting where the guy fired like 900 people over a Zoom meeting at better.com the other day?
What?
You didn't see? No. Okay, so take a peek at that on YouTube. That for me would be the worst feeling ever, is to have to let
Horrible.
someone go because
I agree.
processes that I put in place and things that I put in place didn't work well enough to keep those people employed. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you go on all these podcasts telling everybody what you're doing, but yet you can't do that. It's the same reason why I still have my 9 to 5 job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have to worry about medical. I don't have to worry about things that I built up over the years, right? And so, you have to. Um, that's why what pays off is you have to always try to be as efficient as possible in your processes, because you want to make sure you're always like my acquisition manager. Hopefully, in a very short time, I'm stepping out of the way to do other things, and they can run more of my wholesale business, and I could bring in another acquisition manager, and I don't have to worry about training. I don't have to worry about anything, and that's kind of how you want to. You want to build something that lasts beyond you, you know. And for
All
me,
right,
that's
Curtis. So I wanna ask you because I still like I get it. You barely work at it's not a 9 to 5, guys. It's what is it more like a 1 to 3 type of thing? Like you work like only at 2 hours a day or something.
oh man, it depends
For
on what day it
you,
is. Some days it could be. Some days it could be more.
but like, dude, for you, I mean, I think tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of curious if there's a bit like a similar fear there keeping you from quitting the job. I mean, I think
No,
it's related to what you were. You
no,
don't think so?
not at all. Not at
Why?
all.
Because wouldn't you be able to make so much more money if you had those
No,
2 hours and spend
no,
it on your business?
no.
You don't think
I,
so?
I'm super efficient. I don't like.
That's true.
When's the last time I got on a call and cold called? When's the last time
Right.
I got on a call to close a deal? Right?
Right.
I don't do that stuff.
Right.
Right? I don't need to be. I don't need to be actively doing those things anymore. Right? I have a team that actually does that stuff now. Right? And so I could spend my time giving back and helping out companies by with the knowledge that I built
Right.
up
You
overall.
enjoy your job. I think we've
Yeah,
had this
yeah,
conversation
absolutely,
before.
absolutely.
You
Well,
like
so
actually
if
like
I did
doing
not,
it.
if I
I
did not,
forgot. This is why this is my bad, guys. I assume
yeah.
everyone hates their 9 to 5s.
No, 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 no,
But not
not me,
him.
not me. I work for an $18 billion company that I really enjoy
Love it.
the people that I work with, right? And that they're a bunch of gut people who are they're go givers. They love to be able to help people. So it's that's kind of why I stay doing what I do.
I love it. I mean, yeah. I mean, do you think you have any fears holding you back right now? I know you said you were talking about before. Do you think anything's holding you back right now? I would believe you if you said no, but I'm curious.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, so one of the things that I'm kind of getting a hold of now is I used to have the biggest fear of handing tasks off to other people,
Right.
right? Because I would always say, well, they're not going to do it like I
As
do it,
good as I
right?
will.
Or but what I've learned, and this is that it's better that something be done than to have that task be perfect. Because perfect will never be done. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's the one thing for me is delegation is okay, because if they don't do it right today, we'll get it fixed in a process and they'll get it right tomorrow, right?
Right.
Nobody's going to die because a deal doesn't close today and it closes tomorrow, or
Right.
we don't get back to a seller today and somebody else closes the deal. Oh, we missed that one. But nobody's dying. I mean, I'm not like a EMT or emergency medical service or anything like that, right? So, but before that was the biggest fear. That was one of my biggest fears is
Right.
I didn't want to hand and delegate things off. But then I started looking, and I always bring this up. It's like it used to take me 45 hours a week to do all of my outreach, and I did it like clockwork for a year and a half, right? But what I realized is that if I teach 2 people how to do that, I get 90 hours worth of outreach,
Right.
right? And now I do that in my inbox every day. I have an hour and a half meeting every day where I have deal collection where we're reviewing all those deals, figuring out which deal is a good deal, right? So the process worked a lot better for me because I was able to get rid of that fear. But I had that was one thing for a long time as a fear that really bothered me. It's like, how am I going to delegate this? But I don't know if you, Mike McCallowitz has a book called Clockwork, and
Hmm.
it's all about. I'm telling you, read this book. It's
Read
about
clockwork.
the
I'm gonna write
delegation of
that down.
the delegation of task, right? And how we have to learn to be efficient about it. And he has some processes that he does, like if you know, but go read that book. It's great, right? And if you read that one, read his other one, Profit First. Profit First, and you'll start paying yourself.
I read parts of Profit First. I read Profit First.
That was life changing for me. That's right there. That book kind of changed my whole thinking. And when I started doing that, you know, me and my wife used to have a joke. She used to be like, "Hey, why do you always have money in your pocket?" I said, "Because every deal that comes through, I'm paying me first."
Right. You always got to pay yourself first, 100%.
Yeah. And I'm not up on Lamborghinis or any of that other stuff. So
yeah,
that's the way that is. So for me, that was a huge fear, right? The fear of delegation, and I've gotten over that one. And when you get over that one, right? I went from 45 hours worth of delegating outreach, and now look, I got 3 VAs and an acquisition manager that are outreaching at the same time.
So I want to ask you one last question. We're going to go over a little bit. I'm going to try to keep these to an hour, guys, but I want to just ask one last question so what do you think, what do you do? Because I've thought about this too, and I've been trying to like almost systematize this part of it if I can, is how to systematize how to get over a fear. Is it kind of just like a Nike, just do it? Because that's what my sense is, but I'm curious if you have anything like that.
No. So I do a couple of things, and I do this every week.
This is the good stuff, guys. This is the stuff you need to write down right here, because this is what's going to change your business compared to the rest of this podcast.
Understand the fear, right? Understand the fear, document the fear, figure out the process to change your view of the fear. And for me, I do that once a week, and I do it with processes, right? I take
Say that again for the folks. Understand the fear, document the fear,
and then create a process to get over the fear or to get beyond the fear, right? And for me, that's one that helped me, is that once I did that, I do that internal to my business, and you know, and I do a business review every week, and that's kind of one of the things I do is I take a look at all the processes, try to streamline all the processes. But I also take a look at what's holding us back and it's usually some fear of something, right?
It's always some fear of something. I've decided, that's why I started this podcast, is like, it's always fear. That's always why you're not achieving what you want to achieve. It always comes back to that somehow. Always.
Yeah. And that's like, you know, I think we talked a couple of months ago when you were buying a sub 2 deal in another market that you hadn't even been in. It's like, that's the reason people don't do that, right? There's like, what you mean? I can't drive by this thing and look at it? No, you don't need to, right? But you understand based on your education that this is very easy to make money and be successful based on that, right? But other people have fear of it. So that's what you have to go through with those things that are fears within your business as well, right? Is you have to spend the time going through those fears and understanding those fears, breaking those fears down, and then creating processes to get around them. And
I love it.
Once they're gone, you're you know.
I love it. All right, Curtis, what are we plugging for you? What are you trying to plug? What do you got? You got a book deal? What do you? You don't want to plug anything? How about
let me tell you.
Do the Go High Level CRM stuff?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
3 things. If you're looking for acquisition mentorship, don't hesitate to reach out to me, or you could go to harveypropgroup.us and log in and create your and jump into that mentorship. If you're looking for
a website, harveypropgroup.us.
Yeah, harveypropgroup.us, right? And that'll take you to one of my websites you can actually register. If you're looking for someone to do it all for you and teach you how to do it all, and a working model, jump on that same website and go to my wholesale business in the box, buy one, and you'll get to work directly with me to do that. The other thing I think that I like to kind of talk a little bit about is besides those 2 things, is if you need any help in wholesaling, don't hesitate to reach out. And you could find me at, on social media. You can find me at Harvey_property_group on Instagram. You could find me on Facebook. Jump in the Messenger, send me a message, or you can go to curtis.harvey@harveypropgroup.com and email me, And
okay, wait, hold on. Let's give them all your contact info. I'm gonna do for the next guest. I'm gonna have them say this at the beginning. But okay, so look at the chat. Is that your Instagram handle?
That is.
And then what's your how else do you want them to communicate with you? Email, you said?
Email. Yeah, email. Yeah.
What's your email? You want to put it in there? You could chat.
Yeah,
in
I'll
there.
do it. Yeah, I'll do
Put
it.
your email, put all your info in there. I'm gonna blow you up with the 9 people on this thing.
It won't let me. It won't let me. I have to be logged in.
Whoops. All right, tell me, what do I need to put in?
Curtis.harvey@harveypropgroup.com.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Any other way you want them to be able to reach out to you?
No, those are it. And if you have any questions about anything we talked about today, don't hesitate to reach out to
100%. Curtis and I, we believe in the go-giver mindset. We want to help out as many people as possible. Feel free to hit us up. I'm at this. This is my YouTube channel, so I probably can get messages. But here's my Instagram handle. Here's my number. You guys can hit this up. Feel free if you guys have any questions. And Curtis, you're a beast. I think I'm going to end the podcast there, and we'll see you guys next week. I think I'm going to have Eric Pinalos, if you know him, right?
Yeah, he's up there.
He's with me. He's in the Bay Area. He works in Denver.
We were still in some groups together where we used to do Zoom meetings, and he used to be on those Zoom meetings.
Yeah. He's part of Astro. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. I'll see you guys next week. I'm going to switch the time next week because I realize this is really late for people on the East Coast. I'm going to switch it to 5 p.m. Pacific time. So East Coast people, if there are anybody, that'd be crazy. I'm going to switch it to 5 p.m. next week, Thursday. Scorch the fears. That's why we're here. We're having a great time trying to beat some mindset up. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right. Thanks a lot.